So I think that there's a little bit of fanfare, sort of, the crowd is cheering when the emperor gives the thumbs down to the wounded gladiator. I do think that there is some of that going on, and I think that part is going to increase with social media.
Welcome to The Defense Never Rests with Morgan and Akins, your monthly dose of uncommon sense about all things legal and some that are not.
Hey everybody, this is Trisha Baxter. I am your host of The Defense Never Rests. And today on our inaugural podcast, I decided to bring in three of the smartest lawyers I know. This format's going to be a guest format, but today I thought we would try to capture what we do on a day-to-day basis in our case meetings, the interesting discussions we have, the funny discussions we have. So with me today, Wendy Smith. Hey Wendy, how are you?
Hi everyone.
Oliver Brooks.
Hi.
And Nate Boland.
Good morning. How you doing?
So today, I think we have a pretty timely topic, and it's talking about Philadelphia venue. It's notoriously one of the worst in the country for defendants, or at least that's the reputation. So what do you guys think? We've all been practicing roughly 20 years, or combined 80, if you will. What do you think of the Philadelphia venue? Is it as bad as everybody says?
I don't think so.
Really?
In fact, I've tried 2 cases in the last 6 years in Philadelphia. Both got defense verdicts. One was last August. And I find that the jury pool has really changed in this venue. The pool of people that come through, whether it's a socioeconomic issue with these jury pools or it's just people are tired of seeing all of these high verdicts. You're just not seeing such a bad pick for a defense verdict.
Well, we ranked the 8th highest judicial hellhole in the country, and I think it largely lives up to that reputation. I know it's changing. I think it's the perception is worse than the reality. From the other side of the jury equation, I guess I'll say, I was picked for a jury, or I was in the pool for a jury about a year ago, and they ask you the questions, as you guys all know. Do you know anyone in the courtroom? Would you be more likely to believe so and so over so and so? All those disqualifying questions. And I couldn't get out of it. I mean, everyone kind of wants to get out of it, and I couldn't get out of it. And the last question was, if anyone has a full-time job, please raise your placard. And I do, so I did. And they said everyone's dismissed. So so the people that were left, I remember walking out of the courtroom, were quite frankly people in sweatpants and tank tops and things. And I don't know and it was a very, very complex contract dispute. I don't know if those are the type of people you want hearing that.
Yeah.
And so it's a toss-up.
See, I had the jury pool that I had in August were business owners, young students, people that just really asked thoughtful questions. We even had the jury give a question when they were deliberating and came back and they wanted to see the photographs again that were presented at trial, which really shows me as a trial attorney that the jury's really paying attention to the details that you're giving to them and that they care about the case that they are, which is I think why we got a defense verdict.
Well, is the reputation based on reality, or is it something that, the news media picks up these crazy large verdicts, and we're going to talk about one of them today, but the crazy large verdicts because it's interesting news. The defense verdict, is that really all that great to read about? I mean, it is for me, but...
No, when plaintiffs win, they go to Atlantic City or Vegas, and when we win, we go to work the next day. I think that the venue is largely as bad as most people say. I think Wendy's right that it's changing, it's evolving sort of more towards the defense side, but that's coming from a very polar plaintiff side. With that said, where Philly really shines and stands out in the world of litigation is it's a known quantity in terms of the system that you're working with. We practice all over the Northeast. And some courts, it's really a roll of the dice how they're going to rule on things or how long it's going to take to get a ruling, if ever. But in Philly, you have a dispute, you're going to get heard, and it's going to be resolved. You may not like the outcome of it, but you know what you're dealing with, and there is a value to that alone. I think part of the sort of the hype surrounding Philly being a judicial hellhole is not just verdicts. I mean, the lower level actions within the cases like discovery motions and stuff, sometimes those are pivotal things and those get picked up occasionally and some of those can be pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what gets coverage is the crazy ones, and let's talk about that real quick. Well, maybe not real quick, but Johnson & Johnson just got hit this week with an $8 billion award, the largest Philadelphia verdict since they've really been tracking verdicts. So, and what does that say? What can we take from the Johnson & Johnson verdict? I mean, historically, or is it an outlier? Is it an exception to the rule? The background of the case is that it was first heard in 2015, went to a jury trial. Jury came back $1.75 million. Judge wouldn't allow them to look at punitives, so that wasn't in the mix. But then the plaintiffs appealed, went to Superior Court. Superior Court overturned, came back down. They tried it just on punitives, and that's what we saw this week. $8 billion in punitives. Reading about what happened at that trial, the defense was severely restricted on what they could bring in. So the jury didn't get to hear a lot about what they think they did right. So it was, they came to a jury thinking, or a jury came to the case thinking they were at fault and they wanted to send a message. I don't think it's going to stand, and we can talk about that, but what do you think from the $8 billion verdict? Is that an exception to the rule, or is that what we should come to expect?
I think it's an important distinction to make between, we've kind of conflated them here, but between the jury makeup and jury verdicts and then the judge-based and court-based decisions leading up to that, discovery motions and decisions and motions and eliminate and things like that. So we know as a defense that we're going to get some people on the jury who, the runaway jury theory where it's a person that's been hurt against a corporation that has seemingly endless pockets, right? The Scrooge McDuck money bin that they're swimming in every night, and they can absorb an $8 million verdict even if it's all punitives. But we trust the bench to be the gatekeeper, to let us try the case fairly and get in the evidence that we believe and keep out the evidence we don't believe should be in. And so when those two things work in concert, when the defense is trying the case with the hand tied behind its back, and then if it gets to the jury with the things we don't want to get there, or the things that are getting there that we don't think should be there, then they can turn in the kind of verdict that you see here.
I think social media and the way that the news portrays these companies and these verdicts, what you're seeing now is just look at the opioid crisis that we have and the verdicts that are coming out with that and the settlements that are going to come out from that. And people see that. So if you have a jury pool, I mean, I don't know what evidence, what restrictions happened in the Johnson & Johnson case, but there's already a mindset just from the social media aspect for a juror to come in and see what the potential damages are, and you might see some of these high verdicts come out, especially in this type of case. I mean,
Americans in general love a fall from grace story. I mean, we were riveted to the O.J. Simpson trial. I mean,
I remember that.
It was fantastic entertainment, even when it was really dull. Nate and I we're Steelers fans, and watching Antonio Brown's Spiral.
I'm not either.
Spiral has just been an absolute joy.
It has. It's the only joy we had this year. Quite frankly.
Correct. Yeah. People sometimes forget Johnson & Johnson used to be a textbook example of responsible corporate handling of products cases. There are older textbooks that actually have outlines of when there was an issue. I think someone was poisoning Tylenol or something like that. It's been so long since I read it, but they recalled everything. They ate a huge amount of financial loss to mitigate what was really a fairly controlled and minor exposure to the populace, and they were applauded for that. And over the last 5 to 10 years, we've seen a complete flip of that, and I think people kind of latch on to that sort of a thing. Johnson & Johnson's been around forever. It's a household name. They make everything. They make the shampoo for your baby that won't make them cry. I think that that's important because I find it very hard to believe that there's anyone in this city who hasn't heard of the ongoing Johnson & Johnson verdicts, particularly in California, the talc cases. And those are significant. I don't think there's been an $8 billion one, but if you threw all those into a pot, they're probably bigger than $8 billion. So I think that there's a little bit of fanfare, sort of, the crowd is cheering when the emperor gives the thumbs down to the wounded gladiator. I do think that there is some of that going on, and I think that part is going to increase with social media. I mean, there's shows on TV like Teen Mom, really? I mean, people love a train wreck.
Well, that's what I posted yesterday on LinkedIn, that article that Trish actually shared with me on whether or not there's a bill that's going to be passed, a potential bill, about whether or not we advertise or they put out publicly settlements. And is that going to be an actual deterrent and bring down lawsuits, or is that going to be a potential increase in lawsuits?
Oh, that's going to be an increase. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. Like,
you don't know if that's going, what's going to occur with that, but that's actual legislation that's up being considered right now for that.
Yeah, I mean, in light of the $8 billion verdict, what do you tell your clients? I mean, I know I have a lot of my clients that call me and say that are concerned with Philadelphia venue, and it's always been the case. I've never had someone be like, yeah, we're okay with Philadelphia juries, we're okay with the bench. But what do you tell your clients? Does the $8 billion verdict affect our cases, or is it such an exception that you say, that it was tried on punitives alone? Most cases that go to jury are not including a punitive element, at least not outwardly. What do you say to them?
I think the risk you run with a verdict like this is that it scares people off so much that there's such a boon to settle, and then of course that is picked up by the plaintiff's bar. The plaintiff's bar will know that. They'll say in light of this, there's going to be a lot of people operating in Philadelphia, business people that operate their businesses here that want to settle and are scared about this, right? And a lesser defense counsel may say, yeah, look at that, let's be scared together. Yeah. But I think you have to go with the counsel, which I imagine we do, that would say, we're not going to back down the face of that, and we can control the situation, and explain why it's an outlier. Explain why all the stars aligned to make that the biggest number we've had.
Our last two segments of the show is, the first one is called Try, Not Try. Or should we try a certain amount of case, or should we settle it? And given the verdict this week, I figure let's talk about that. I understand Johnson & Johnson has 7,000 more cases in the wings. Do they try or not try? I'll throw it to you, Wendy.
Settle.
Oliver? Try. Ooh, really?
As Yoda said, do or do not, there is no try.
Settle, all right. Yeah, I'm a settle too.
You flip it?
All right. I'm a ettle. Yeah. I'm a settle too. All right, last closing comments. Let's just wrap up. Philly venue. You get a call from a client. What do you tell them about our venue?
Don't be overly frightened by outliers, but be very cognizant that it's a crapshoot, both in the time that leads up to trial in motion practice and at the time of trial. But explain why that is. I think we provide clients with jury verdicts. We provide clients with breakdowns, socioeconomic breakdowns, political breakdowns, and that stuff all matters. And I think if they're alerted at the beginning that they know that demands are pumped up 30 or 40% and the plaintiff's bar is galvanized, then you can litigate the case appropriately. And then if it comes time to settle, we have those frank conversations.
What about you, Oliver?
Well, first thing is, in the products liability world, I think the Philly plaintiff's bar, as much as some of these guys drive me up the wall, we do come across some of the best in the nation. I mean, we see cases all over the place, and the Philly guys here are really good. And I think that that's helpful usually, because dealing with someone who knows what they're doing is often much easier than dealing with someone who's just shooting in the dark. With that said, motions practice is going to be a complete circus, and it's going to be motion intensive. I wouldn't say to back away from litigating here. If we can get it out of here, we should try to do that, but if we're stuck here, we can run with that. There are tons of outlier cases, mostly because there are tons of cases. If we have to try it here, we have to try it here. I'm not going to tell any client that, oh yeah, we should settle and we should pay more than it's worth because it's in Philadelphia. I don't have the stomach to say something like that to anyone. Would its value be less if it were in, say, I don't know, the Eastern District, which is like 10 blocks away? It certainly would be, but you have to play the hand that's dealt when you play poker. And you don't fold every single time. You have to see what the case is about.
All right, we'll give you the last words.
All right, well, I'm kind of on the same page as what Oliver just said, and it kind of goes with our exercise. Sometimes I'm like, try the case. Sometimes I'm like, settle the case. But I always give the cautionary warning to the client on the onset of explaining what venue we're in right from the beginning of the case. And then as the case progresses, what are our facts, what has developed, issues, and at that point in time, then you have to make the determination if you try or settle the case.
Well, awesome. Thanks, guys. Love that we had this discussion today. It's so relevant, especially given the verdict this week. But until next time, join us on The Defense Never Rest.
All right.
Wait, what happened to our thingy?
It's over here. Take one. We should write on that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
That's a wrap.
Whoa, jeez.
Whoa, okay.
All right, Paul breaks all of our.
All right. It's all right.